glad you're here. I have a really fun video for you today. If you're new to my channel, my name is Marlene. I'm glad you're here too. If you like what you see, I would love it if you start to follow my channel and hit that notification bell because YouTube likes that. Also, I post daily on my Instagram, sometimes a couple of times a day, and that's also down there, and that's the best way to keep track of what I'm up to. Okay, so let's get started. I'm really excited. I have been wanting to do a December daily for like ever and ever, which I'm going to probably do another video just to show you what I've been collecting and stuff like that. But anyway, these little, I'm calling them junk journal December daily. Like, these will probably be like the foundation pages or the beginning of it. And I'll show you what I've done so far with them. They could be just a regular junk journal for the Christmas season, but I think they would be great to start a December daily. I mean, everything's done for you already. All you got to do is the fun part, which is all the embellishments and however you want it. I left this more of neutral, like a little bit more kind of neutral, so that it can be accommodated to whatever your style, your taste, or however funky you want to get. You know, you can do it in there. I love the cover because I made it a little bit, it's like kind of like vintage, but a little bit whimsy at the same time, because I love this Christmas tree shape. I just love it. And the polka dots and everything, I think that gives it a little bit of a whimsy. And when I think of a Christmas December daily, for my taste, for me, should be a little whimsy. I mean, it's not so, like I usually make my journals are a little bit elegant and kind of very shabby, which this is shabby, you'll see what I mean. But I don't know, I think the cover gives it a pop of color, and I think it's a little whimsy, and I think that lends himself perfectly for a December daily. And that's what I had in mind when I was putting these together. They will find a happy home, and somebody will journal their whole December and with their family and all the fun stuff. And that's what I thought when I made this journal. Okay, so let's get started. It's got 2 shades of green. I'm just like in love with these trees, just like in love with them. The cover is fabric, and I did put, I'll show you what I did in between, how I cover the inside of the book. But I always like to put a layer either of chipboard or this wonderful new material that I found. I found this gigantic drafting board table thing that, of course, we don't use that anymore because we got all these computer programs. But they had these gigantic sheets, but they were kind of like chipboard, but they were not as thick, and they had that grid paper underneath. And I love it. It's the perfect consistency to how I like to do my journal covers, because I sandwich that in between. And I'll show you later on the back. I covered it with the napkin that I had. Everything that I use, it is recyclable stuff. For example, I think these were, I don't know if, I want to say a bedspread, but it was not a bedspread. Maybe like a throw or a runner or something. But everything that I like to use stuff like that. They've been like, I'll show you later on. It's a little weather here on the side, and I love it. But everything that I use, like all the laces are from little girls' dresses or stuff that I find, that I collect, and everything is washed and ironed. Yes, I like to iron. So this is a napkin that I found, a set of napkins, and they're beautiful, and they're very see-through, very light, very dainty, the cotton. And I, washed and ironed them, because that line would have driven me nuts. You know how when you fold them in 4, you get that line? That would drive me nuts. So I ironed them, and then when I ironed them, it flattened them out, and it let me see how much thinner it was. And you can see the grid paper underneath, and I love it. I'll show you that in a bit. But anyway, I talk a lot. Like I said, the cover is like that, made out of fabric. And it's got 2 signatures, and I'm going to, this is probably going to be up at my Etsy store, I don't know, by this afternoon. Probably before the video comes up, like right before the video comes up, I'll probably put it in my Etsy store. And it'll have all the details, the measurements, everything, how many pages and everything. I do know that it has 2 signatures. And like I said, I kept it as plain as possible inside with just a little pop of color here and there with some Christmas paper, and that's it. But I did do a lot of laces and trims on the inside. It's a lot of sewing. I mean, it took me a while because I did, I wanted to make it substantial looking, and then that way you can keep, you probably don't have to put a lot of trims and stuff like that on your access, your little embellishments and stuff, because the pages are so rich. Look, I mean, you'll see that you probably, all you need to do is decorate. That's it. I think it would be perfect. So anyway, I had enough fabric for 2, which is perfect. And look at the back. And I used that material that I love, that new, I don't know, I think it was like a wedding dress, like the bottom. It's kind of like sheer, and it's got this, I don't know if you can see it. I love covering some of it with that. So I did that. Most of the book, all of it is sewn. I just, some of this like some of this thin fabric, I did have to use little bits of glue, but I would say 90% of it is all sewn. It took a lot of work. For example, when I sandwiched the 2 pieces of paper here, I had already sewn on the outside. And like I said, this trim already came with the paper. I think it's so pretty. And then what I always like to do, see, you can see the 2 strings back here from the wax linen, the wax strings that I used. But I always like to reinforce that, and that's why I always try to put on the, it's got a 3-hole binding, and I always try to put something where I can put a little bit of glue and then cut, just like reinforce the spine. I always like to do that. I like to do it to my journals, and I like to do it to other people's journals. So, and that's the front. Here is a piece of this tablecloth that I have been stretching and stretching and stretching, that I love. Some of the Battenberg lace, I made like little ruffle clusters. You got some of the Battenberg lace underneath and a little bit of the cluster here. They have 2 different buttons because I couldn't find the exact same button. But what I loved about this was the fact that the little tree allowed me to put little ornaments. I don't know if you can see this, but right behind this ornament, like right behind it, it's a little applique that kind of hugs the ornament. I don't know. I think maybe to make it look like it's shinier. I don't know. But both of them have this tiny little doily, like a tiny little applique right around it, only on this top one. This one I sewed, I put a piece of that sheer material, and then on top of the sheer material is where I sewed the little beads. So obviously all these little beads were sewn before I did the back. And the fabric was already like quilted, but very lightly quilted, nothing heavy. And it has these tiny little green polka dots on the fabric, that limey green, tiny, almost faded little polka dots. So I thought that the little round ornaments would look cute with all the little polka dot thing that's going on here. And then on the bottom, on this one, I also have a piece of that lacy material, and I did another little ruffle. So this is 1 material, 2 material, 3 Battenberg, and this one, and a little polka dot, little ruffle down here. So I love to layer things up. And then of course I got some of the dangly buttons on the bottom, which are round, so I love that. So yep. And then the closure is real simple because it's got some silk binding, and then it just goes like that, and that's it. And then this one is the same. I mean, you can tell that it's, same thing, a lot of the layering. Maybe see, like on this one, the ruffles on this side, the red little ruffle, wait, let me see my camera. The red little ruffle is on, let me put it back, on this side, and then on this one is on this side. So little stuff like that, but I use the exact same material on both, the exact same. And I try to do it the same. They're both reinforced for the spine, and the back is like that. The only thing that makes them different, really, that's really noticeable, is the button. This one's bigger, that one's smaller, but it's the same thing. It locks, I mean, it closes the same. Goes right around the button. Like that. So, let's get started. Let's put this one aside. Really doesn't matter which one I show you anyway. So, you open it up. And of course, oh, I didn't show you the sides. Look at the inside, how yummy that looks. And then there's a little bit on the top. Not too much, but a little bit. And there's a little bit on the bottom. But see, it's got just the right amount of laces, and there's plenty of room in there to, you know, put whatever you want. So all of these, I would probably have to say maybe just a few, but they were all sewn in. Every single one of these were all sewn in. And that's kind of like the, I don't want to say hard work, but that's the tedious. For me, a little bit more the tedious, because the fun part to me is to decorate and do the pockets and do the, you know, the tag. That's the fun part for me. But anyway, I didn't do any of that in this. It's just kind of like plain. So you can do whatever you want. So let me show you the inside. Okay, so the inside. This is, look how pretty that napkin is. Isn't that gorgeous? I don't know if you'll be able to see it because this camera is a little funky. It might go out of focus when I go up. I don't know if it will. But the grid paper is underneath. Can you see a little bit of the grid paper? Maybe not. Yeah, you can see it, I think. I think that's so pretty that I was able to capture that grid paper underneath. So the grid papers, you can kind of see it underneath. This part right here is glued in because I couldn't sew through this cardboard. But I covered, you know, I reinforced all the edges with this real dainty little, I didn't want to take anything away from the print, which I thought was very pretty. So I used this really dainty, soft little, almost looks like a ribbon, but it's lace. And then I thought this was so appropriate because it's kind of like, you know, whimsical looking. And I always think of Rick Rack as whimsical. I don't know why. So I put a little bit of the whimsical Rick Rack on the inside in white to match the little pompons, so, and the little trim. I didn't want the Rick Rack to be red. I didn't feel like I wanted it to stick out so much against the green, so I left it white, and it just has a nice soft little touch. All the laces, I would say most of them are all messy, like I like them. They're all torn and tattered and purposely, and I like how that looks. Here I have, the paper that I used was like a mishmash of different paper collections, but the tones of the greens and stuff I thought would kind of go with the book itself, with the journal. And I wanted to keep it like that junk, I call the junk journal style. That's what I call it. I don't know if it is or if it isn't, but to me it is. The junk journal style to me is when all the pages are like not even. They're all not the same. Like, you know, sometimes you do a TN and all the pages are the same. I like that too. But to me and to my head, when I say junk journal, I mean the pages are all uneven. And I love that for a December daily. So anyway, here I used a little bit of some ripped eyelet material that I had left, just enough for both books, and that's like the main, that's when you open it up. I always personally, I like to leave my opening kind of like nothing on it to kind of rest the eye, to kind of get ready for what's inside. That's my head, that's how I think. But you can do whatever you want. You can do like a nice welcoming pocket with a tag. You can do whatever you want. So there's plenty of room to journal and plenty of room to make it your own and put whatever you like and tell your story, tell your family's story. I don't know, for some reason this year, guys, I'm just in such I've never anticipated. I think it's a mental thing. Christmas is, I like decorating for Christmas. I like putting things up. I love Christmas. But for some reason, this year in my heart is different. I feel like Christmas is like it was when I was little. I don't know what it is. I'm yearning it. I can't explain it. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, so anyway, I use different kind of papers from all over. They're just little pops of color here and there, but most of it it's my tea dye and coffee stained paper. I use mainly coffee because I wanted to keep it a little dark. So here I try to combine in my head, I try to combine whimsy with vintage shabby type of thing. So I just did little ruffles, like crazy ruffles, I call them, because this is just pieces of material that I cut. It has, I try to find the pages that are, match with Christmas, or, that I like. I like picking the, the hymnal pages. I like looking through them, and I like picking them. So this is just the back of a page. You can see a little, this reminds me of Germany, so a little sneak peek of some Christmas decoration. Another, see, a lot of these pages, you can turn them into flips. You can add on to them. You can do whatever you want. They're all here for you, see? I love sometimes how my coffee paper comes out really different because I dry it outside on my top of my gravel in my little courtyard area. And whenever the weather's good, that I know it will dry that same day and I can bring it in that same day, I let it dry on top of the gravel. And it gets the weirdest little shapes that I love because you can almost see the rocks. I love it. So anyway, this is my special paper. See how pretty? I love that. A little bit of color here. I always like to add a little bit of lined paper. What else? More of book pages. So it's got a lot of book pages and children's book pages. Ledger paper. I'm just going to walk through it because it's just mainly paper. See, this is a messy, I call them messy tabs. Just whatever I want to put in there. And see, all this is sewn. So how I do it is that I kind of organize my pages more or less how I want, and then I just sew. It takes me hours, and I'll just be sewing, and then I put my book together. Because it's near impossible to do all the sewing, obviously, when you bind the book. I had a little bit of this left from the top of, I think this was either a runner or a short little throw. But from the top, I had a little bit of the red left, and I like it. It's not velvet, but it's so old and so weathered, and it's so soft that it feels like velvet. And I'm like in love with velvet, lady. I didn't have any red velvet, but so I put a piece of it here. This is from a tablecloth that I cut it. Ticket. Another crazy little ruffle. This is a children's book that I'm in love with because I can see their little writing on it. So cute. I love this image. You can see through the window of a store. Glassine bag. This is a little bit of that. I'm just like in love with this book, and it's got a lot of blues in it, and I don't know. And I never do blue in Christmas, but for some reason, I'm telling you, I'm just liking the things I used to like when I was little. This year only. I don't know why, but it's just so pretty. We had some blue in our tree when we were growing up when we were little. That's why I'm thinking of that. This is those message pads. Look how pretty. More of my pea stain, some Battenberg on the top, a little bit here. This is the other half of the glassine bag. More paper. That's beautiful. So basically, the pages on the books are going to be like especially the book pages, because I don't scan. These are real book pages. Are going to be a little bit different, but it's from the same book, so it's going to be the same more or less. Ticket. I love this. I was trying to look for things that I had that had polka dots or dots or circles or anything like that. I left some pages without anything. I didn't want to put lace on every single page, but I think it has just enough that I think it's the greatest it's just enough for you to build your story on it. It's not too much lace, not too much trim. I think it's just enough. This can easily be turned into a pocket or a little side tuck spot. Put a little bit of glue or whatever you want on it and go to town. And the back, you can do a little flip, whatever. So basically, it's just lots of yumminess, pretty colors. In the center, I reinforced with a little bit of eyelet trim just to kind of reinforce that spine. I always like to do that. Isn't that paper? Isn't that pretty how the rocks do that? I love that. I need to do that again. I'm running out of paper. Christmas paper. Don't ask me what pad this is from because I don't remember. So see, it's just loaded up. I'm going to do some messy. I'm just going to walk some of that blue. More lime paper. Proper red. I think that's so pretty with the buttons. And then I did the same thing with the, stucky. I use a little bit of eyelid. I didn't have a lot, but I had just enough. See, this is glued. This is not sewn in because I must have run out of thread or something, so I just kind of sewed it in. You can put a little something here. You can do whatever you want. Another glassine bag. I love when my pages tear like that. I love it. Another little ruffles. I'm getting better and better in doing these little ruffles. And then on both of the inside closure, you know, when I lock them up, when I tie them up, I put little dangling red buttons. Oh, look how pretty that looks. You can see, I can see my pebbles in there, and I can even feel the bump, the little bump. Okay, so more paper. So it's really chunky. I didn't get to count the pages, but I will. Another little tuck spot right here. More on another trim piece that I had left. I used a little bit stucky. A little bit of this tulle material. I just love the softness of tulle, but I like it ivory. Like a lot of these laces and trims have also been tea-dyed. And I like to tea-dye my laces and trim for some reason, but I like to coffee dye my papers. I want a little bit more of the darkness on my paper, but I want to keep the laces and trim just to tinge my taste. More paper. I love that image. Delish. This is just a plain piece of tulle that I put there. Here, this can be another black spot. So it's loaded, guys. I would have to count, but there's a lot in here. And then the back is the same way. Same thing, the dainty little ribbon, and then the rickrack, and then a little something here on the bottom. So, yep. So, guys, I only had enough material. I wish I had more, but I only had for 2 books. Like I said, I'm going to have all the measurements and everything on there. And since I had in my head, I don't know, I had in my head that whoever got them would turn them into December dailies. I don't know, they could be like you saw, they could be journals, just plain junk journals. But I don't know, I'm thinking December daily, I don't know. So I'm going to throw in 2. I just don't know which book you're going to get. Like I said, they're almost identical, and I cannot, I mean, these are almost exactly the little, I'm going to throw in 2 little bags with all sorts of little goodies that you can use. Just a little mishmash. I just grab a handful and some stickers in the back. I'm also going to throw in 2 different, 2 little fabric textile bundles because I love fabric. And I found this material that I am in love with, and I didn't want to add it to the book because I wanted you to add it to the book. But I am like, let me see if I can get this open. I love this. I mean, this is like a throw, like a real fancy. I think it's like a Pier 1 thing or something. But I don't care. I cut it up. Look at this. Look how pretty that is. Can you see that? This would make for some really cute, like little embellishments for your book, or maybe like to put on the, I don't know, but it's just, and it's the perfect, because it's that burnt red. It's the perfect red for it. And you just get a little handful of just all kinds of little fabrics that I like. I love that. I like that one, and I just all kinds of little. I like this one. This I found from a vintage dress that I took it apart. It's really pretty. This one, and this is a new new to me, but it's an old tablecloth and I love it. So you get a little bit of this. If you decided to turn it into a December daily or not, you still get all that. So like I said, guys, this I'm going to put on my Etsy store as soon as I finish the video, and I think that's it. And I have been seriously considering doing a December daily for me, and I'm so excited. Okay, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. God bless. Bye-bye.